Right. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry to interrupt again. We're going to go ahead and we're going to try this. I'm going to get Bonnie up on stage, and she's going to share some information about some upcoming events while we bring the captains, and we'll try to bring everybody else on stage as well. So let's go ahead and get Bonnie up. I'm able to make you come up. I think you have to bring yourself. Okay, and you are muted, Bonnie.
Yeah, am I better now? Y'all can hear me now?
Yep.
Just a couple of things I wanted to remind everybody. I did send a note out yesterday, but next Thursday we have a member event. It's Studio Movie Grill. It should be, we are trying not to just have conversations about the racial injustice that has been going on and just dropping the conversations. We want to continue to keep that up front. So the movie we've selected is John Lewis, Good Trouble, which should, educate people, those of us that missed out on the education of civil rights and those who are too young to perhaps be aware of some of the things that have happened in our past. So we hope you will join us. We are selling tickets per se, but basically it's a donation of $5 to the Cell We Nourish program. So I hope you'll check into that. The other thing we have coming up, well, there's another important thing, is that there is a survey of 15th Avenue that the MPO has put in place. If you need that link again, let me know. Those need to be completed by September 30th. So they're trying to get input from the community and from our folks on some of the things that would help 15th Street. And the last thing is Innovation Gathering. We are scheduled to be on October 29th. It will be a virtual meeting. We've got some very exciting things. Richard Florida is going to be there, and we've got some conversations between him and some of our anchors and folks that way. So, everybody needs to mute. That's my last announcement. So anyway, I would just like to thank everyone for participating today. I think we've gotten some really good information, and we want to continue with this as well. So thanks a lot. I'm going on mute, handing it back to Eddie.
So yeah, we're trying to bring everybody up on stage, so there will be a lot of people in. So if you could just have your mic on mute unless you're speaking. And let's just go ahead and, we'll start with the table captains, but feel free to invite anybody from your table to add in. So if you should have gotten an invitation to join on the stage, and you'll have to click accept to come on the stage, and you will have to have your camera and microphone on in order to do that. I don't think you'll be able to get on the stage without that, but let's go ahead and give it a try here, and we'll go ahead and we'll kind of start. I'm just looking at my screen. We'll go ahead and start with Sherry, so I don't skip over anybody. I'll just go in order here.
Are you with me?
Sherry, I'm sorry, Sherry Donnie here.
Yeah, well, we loved all these questions, and it looked like if we had looked at all of the next set of questions the first go around, because we all talked about almost everything that had been on the next set of, when you had pulled them out, like the difference between crime prevention, traffic, pedestrians, all that list. But we still think that one of the points that I personally made was that we consistently say that we are building this new neighborhood, if you will, for everyone who lives there, and for anyone who wants to join us. You're welcome to come in, but we're not moving anybody out. And we need to keep saying that so that the residents believe that we're saying that. And if you look around here in the state of Florida, in Miami, where Liberty City has been known as a long time as people of color, that's where they all got moved, right? They got moved away from the beach. And now, who do you think's sitting on the mountain? They are. and people are looking at their neighborhood saying, oh, you're on high ground, maybe we should move in. And you know, we don't want the people who live here to think that they can't trust us. So we need to keep saying that and keep saying it a lot and include them, as has been said on multiple tables. So thanks for doing this. I think this has been a good conversation. Now we just need to jump into some different action modes. And it sounds to me like we're already doing that by doubling the size of this advisory board. That's huge. I really love hearing that. So thanks, everybody. Nice seeing you all.
Thank you, Sherry. I forgot that I muted myself. I understand that some people are having trouble getting on stage, so we may have reached our limit. So what we'll do is we'll just let everybody here have a chance to speak, and then we'll go back to the table so everybody else can converse. It looks like we're not going to be able to get everybody on this one stage, but let's go ahead and go over to Eric. You want to go ahead and summarize what you heard at your table?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought the stage allowed for many more on. Yeah, better traffic, pedestrian safety were the top probably 2 or 3 that we need to address. That would help fix a lot of the other issues. Mickey brought up some really good points about Mickey Jacobs brought up points about redefining affordable housing and creating, you know, better housing, maybe rezoning some of what we've got so that that is more viable, keeping more people in the area. And let's see, I think those were the top ones that we really went after. Walkable, rideable, safe, being, you know, the key, I think the key words there, and just connecting somehow. And Rebecca brought up a good point. Again, don't wait till, you know, it becomes so obvious. You know, let's build it now, because like all great transportation systems, whether in Atlanta or Salt Lake City or Phoenix, there's initial opposition, and once they build it, they can't add on to it quick enough and expand it because it becomes so usable. And if you want to take me off stage and let someone else up, Eddie, you can, or we're just going back to the tables. Okay,
I'll do that, and let's go ahead and go to Jerry if you want to go.
Sure.
Miranda, she's somewhere, so go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, for our last discussion question, the main 2 focuses were that is important is the crime prevention, in which people strongly agree, as well as vehicles in the area and transportation. So when someone is wanting to come into the area, the nightmare of coming down 275 and the bottleneck in that area, as well as one of the deterrents and things that we should definitely continue to keep in mind as we continue on the improvements in the area. So everyone in our group, again, strongly agreed with the findings of the survey, but we want to make sure that we have participation from all of the anchor institutions as well, such as Busch Gardens, the VA, Advent Health, USF, as we have such world-class amenities here in the Uptown District, to make sure that we're all working together in order to have that development in the area of affordable housing, to have multi-generational housing where we have individuals who may be elderly. We have the elderly in the location, as well as college students, as well as middle income, to create those spaces for us to create areas where people are able to live, work, and grow. I am going to have to jump off of this call, but I want to thank everybody for participating and allowing me to be a part of this discussion today as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jerry. We're looking for a couple of table captains. I think Miranda may be having some tech difficulties, and Roland maybe also. Is anybody, I see Alan and Donna Mae and Ron and Lisa, were any of you, and Rebecca, Christian, were any of you at Miranda's table or Roland's table? I think Donna Mae, let me unmute you and see if, Donna Mae,
Yeah,
were you?
I was on Jerry's table, so.
Oh, okay. Well, let me go ahead and open it up for any of you that are on stage that I see at least. Alan, Lisa, Donna Mae, Rebecca, Ron. Do you want to add to anything that you just heard? Or anything from your table discussions? Just make sure you turn your microphone back on if you do.
Yes, can you hear me? Okay, Eddie?
Sure.
Donna Mae, Alan,
Yep,
Jerry.
you're right.
We had a good, robust discussion of a number of issues, including the arts and creating new incentives for arts along Fowler Avenue, not just the Magnificent Gateway, but also throughout Fowler Avenue and the neighborhood with respect to incentives to arts groups, providing subsidized space for arts groups. Maybe some commercial space is now struggling, as was mentioned on a number of our groups, and maybe for 3 or 6 months subsidized in order to come in and provide performance spaces. We have food trucks. We also now have what are known as art trucks, which display art and sell art. And we could perhaps incentivize Fowler Avenue to become the Boulevard of the Arts with a number of and I'll let Miranda speak to those issues. Miranda, you're on. We had a little trouble getting you on, but you're on again.
Yes, I poofed. I don't know what happened. I apologize. Did you go over, Ron, what we talked about at our table? You did? He did already, Eddie?
He talked about the arts especially, and the idea of making it a Boulevard of the Arts.
Yes, Ron had the idea of the Boulevard of the Arts and talked about some arts grants. We also had some other conversation about fixing the dead zone of Fowler and adding investors for more buy-in by creating some type of a vision or a plan that could be visually seen. One of the things that also was discussed at our table was the lack of participation with the survey. Terry had, I guess, had conversations the results, and if there's a way for us to include
Miranda, I don't know if anybody else sees this. Is Miranda frozen to everybody? Okay. Maybe some bandwidth issues there, but yeah, I think I heard that suggestion also making the survey more accessible to the community. It was written more toward the property owners, but I think we can tweak it and make it more widely applicable and make it available at some more community locations where there's some more traffic, maybe at the UACDC, maybe somewhere here in the mall. And that way we can get some more input from, because, you know, like I think a few people have pointed out, Fowler isn't just about the properties on Fowler, it serves the neighborhoods behind that as well. So I guess we kind of hit the limit of people we can bring on stage. Does anybody else that's on stage want to say anything else? Rebecca?
I sat through, and I can't even remember who did it. It was a great webinar, but it went city after city after city, and it showed with different colors where the low-income areas kind of overlapped with lack of public transportation. It showed it over and over and over. So I think that's the key. In fact, Ron, I think the first time I ever met you, we talked about transportation is the key to making the innovation district work. I think it's the key to turning around those people's lives that live there and the people who travel through it. And I think that building housing closer to where you work is the key to being happy in life. So that's my only comment.
And Rebecca, you touched on something that's really relevant to, I'm reading Richard Florida's latest book right now, The New Urban Crisis, and he talks about how poverty, the geographical pattern of poverty is flipped, where for a time it was in the inner city, and now it's starting to move out. It's more into the suburbs, and those are some of the places that are least served by mass transit. So I think that goes along with what you just mentioned about how some of the maps you've seen show poverty and lack of transportation overlapping, and that's part of what Richard Florida talks about in the New Urban Crisis. So he's going to be our keynote on October 29th at the gathering, and we'll talk a lot more about that and other issues.
Eddie, may I say something about that, please?
Yes, Ron.
In our days of finally awakening to the absolute mandate of racial equity and economic equity and housing equity, Microsoft and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation just paid $127 million to buy 70 acres in Quarry Yards, that's Q-U-A-R-R-Y, in one of the most depressed areas of Atlanta, which is Grove Park. So they're basically engaging in housing and putting 1,500 Microsoft employees and their money where their mouth is with respect to racial equity and social equity. And we talked about the Boulevard of the Arts a while ago. We also could be talking about the Boulevard of Inclusiveness, that we could create a national model the way Microsoft and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation are doing with that 70 acres in Atlanta in Grove Park with respect to a national laboratory and a national center with respect to the nature of robust inclusiveness of racial, economic, and housing equity.
It's a great initiative.
So I'll jump in here for this discussion. Rebecca can't agree more about transportation. We've been talking about that forever. Unfortunately, Hart is in a world of hurt, and they're cutting rather than expanding their services. There's a public comment period out now on their proposed transportation route. And I personally have a problem with what they have proposed. I think I can, I don't want to speak for Sarah, but I know Sarah has some concerns about the proposed route, as do some others who have been working with IP on the circulator plan. That's been around since 2012, I want to say. Even before that. I mean, I know like the first study the Planning Commission did was years before that. But, that circulator.
Hey, Eddie, this is Mickey. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mickey.
Yeah, I can hear you, Mickey.
Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my video. I don't see it, but if I could jump in on this, if I may, I think there's a couple things. One is, I think everything today was really great and incredible discussion and wonderful ideas. I think there's a couple things. One is we need a champion.
I hate to
we need a champion, like Ron said, of somebody who wants.
Sorry. Go ahead. Do it again. I think we lost Mickey. Go ahead, Lisa.
So where was I? Oh, the circulator. So the plan that Hart has right now that's out for discussion and comment, it brings a bus through campus on roads that are already serviced by the Bull Runner. And the plan, those roads have, they're speed, they're not humps, they're mountains at USF, and there's students crossing. And I mean, it would slow down so much. And I have no idea why or who came up with the idea to run this route through campus in two different places. So rather than do that, I'm still pushing for that circulator. I understand from Clarence that Hart has turned back the money to some of the investors for the circulator. Hillsborough County still has tens of thousands of dollars budgeted every year to support that circulator. So my suggestion is that everybody here that I see on the screen, and we've got some, heavy hitters here, contact Hart and, have your thoughts heard on their proposal to bring that route through campus and ask them to revive that circulator. I'm doing what I can through Commissioner Overman to get that circulator project back in the forefront. Like I said, Hillsborough County already has the money committed. So does, Moffett and, all the other IP partners. So the IP partners need to get on the phone to those at Hart and really advocate to get that circulator up and running And it doesn't take anything, for Hart to do. It's a lease service. They don't even have to dedicate, any time to it. It's just that they needed a place to house the funds because Hart is our public transportation, provider. So it should have been a no-brainer, and I don't know what happened to that. So that's what I have to say on transportation. And it is true. I mean, I live in the neighborhood. Taking a bus anywhere is just out of the question. It takes an hour to get, downtown, which is ridiculous. It takes me 15 minutes by car. Why would I take an hour by bus? And we're talking about zoning, or at least, me and Christian and Councilwoman Donahue about having overlays. We can't have any specific design. And Ron, I don't have to tell you anything about zoning, but if you don't have a design overlay, if you don't have some kind of code changes, then you're not going to see projects like you want to see them. I mean, you could talk all day long about how you want to see pretty things, but if it's not regulated in the code, you can't tell a developer how to build their project and what color to paint it, what style to build it in. But if you had some overlays, they would have to meet those overlays. So, and I love the idea of the Boulevard of the Arts. I can't talk about it because of the cone of silence, but everyone should keep an eye on the Mosey property. They've extended the deadline for submissions for the RFP. But other than that, I can't talk about it because, like I said, the aforementioned cone of silence, which affects me because of my position with the commissioner. So that's going to be a game changer. Whatever they do at that Mosey property is going to be a game changer for Fowler Avenue. What I'm afraid of is that we're going to see a lot of retail businesses that make up Fowler Avenue go dark. And sometimes that could be an opportunity, Ron, for arts projects, because what do you see when you get vacant storefronts? Like in Ybor City back in the day, 30 years ago. The artist moved in and, then it gets a hippie, trendy place to be. So, doing some pop-up art shops. If we do have the opportunity in some of the shopping centers, unfortunately we use some of our retail, pop-up art shops would be a great thing. There were all kinds of ideas that we floated in, during the downturn in the city. And I'm sure Ron remembers everything from like pop-up icicle, popsicle stands to, pop-up restaurants, pop-up art installations, creative space in all those vacant storefronts, and even just covering the windows of vacant spaces with artwork. So, it might, if we do see what I hope we don't, but if we do see that, then we would have an opportunity there. As somebody who lives here, just a pet peeve is the garbage. Anywhere there's an opportunity for people to throw stuff out the window, even along sidewalks with bus stops. There's what I've been trying to promote in my neighborhood is to get the city to put in public garbage cans along pedestrian routes, or have Hart empty their trash cans by their bus stops more often, because there's nothing that brings down the look of an area more is to have garbage and other unsightlies around the area. So everything from big to small, Eddie.
I'm afraid that I do see that there are about 22 people still on the meeting, and I'm afraid that they're really not being able to.
Yeah, I'm going to jump out.
So let's go ahead and I'm just going to put it back to the tables. We've still got the room for another 15 minutes if anybody can stay and wants to still talk, and just move around the tables and continue the conversation. I'm just afraid that we're leaving people out that we don't see here at the stage. So.
Okay.
Everybody.